Hello and welcome to this webinar and training. Because you're here right now, I know that you're serious about your podcast and you understand the role that it can play in building your brand and your business. And if you're watching this right now, there's a good chance that we even met at the Empowered Podcasting Conference. So I look forward to staying in touch with you and keeping the conversation going over the days and weeks to come. All right. So here's the truth about podcasting. You already know that it's one of the most powerful tools to grow credibility and create trust at scale. But here's another thing. Many podcasters are leaving growth opportunities on the table because they simply aren't leveraging LinkedIn the way that they should. And today in this training, I'm going to show you how to use LinkedIn as a growth engine specifically for your podcast, but ultimately for your business. All right. By the end of this training, it'll be about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. You're going to have some actionable tactics that you can implement right away. And you're also going to see how I help business owners just like you turn your podcast into a marketing powerhouse. So let's begin. And we're going to begin with that first important question of, well, of all the platforms, why LinkedIn? All right. LinkedIn's a networking site. Well, you know what? It's more than just a networking site. It's the number one platform for B2B marketing and one of the most trusted platforms when it comes to publishing and distributing content. In fact, over 80% of B2B leads generated on social media come directly from LinkedIn. All right. Now, think about that in the context of your podcast. Your podcast is a credibility machine. It gives you authority. It gives you the opportunity to build your thought leadership platform, all right? It also helps you attract the right type of audience. Now, what happens when you pair that with LinkedIn's reach and credibility, and all of a sudden you're not just running a podcast, you're running a content engine that's going to position you as that go-to expert in your field, which is exactly what we want. All right. So, in this training, I'm going to give you 5 tips that are going to turn your podcast into that business growth engine, specifically using LinkedIn and everything that LinkedIn has to offer. So, one of the simplest yet most overlooked steps is creating a LinkedIn page specifically for your podcast. Now, I'm not talking about a separate account. I'm talking about like a business page through LinkedIn. And yes, you can do that. All right. So think about it like that. Your podcast, it's not just a hobby, right? It is a brand asset. And your LinkedIn page, having that LinkedIn page will allow you to do that. Some of the things it will give you the opportunity to do would be to showcase your podcast as its own entity. Okay, you can highlight episodes, you can highlight guests and shout them out. You can celebrate milestones. You can use it as a content hub that can be followed independently of your personal profile, which is what you have when you first sign up to LinkedIn. All right. So 2 other important things that it helps you do, it'll give your podcast discoverability in LinkedIn search, and it's going to position your podcast as that real brand extension of your business. It's not a side project. It is that brand asset to that business. All right. And real quick, a pro tip: make sure that you're always using high quality visuals in your cover image and in your logo. And also, you want to use in your description and summary and anywhere you can put information, make sure that it's keyword optimized to help people as they're searching for those specific topics. So, the second tip that I have for you, and this relates to your personal profile, you want to make sure that your personal profile is optimized. Okay, think about it. That's that first impression. When someone stumbles upon you, they find you on LinkedIn, they are going to your personal profile, and that's that first impression of what they think about you. All right, so make sure that you're giving them all the information that they're going to need to start to like you, start to trust you, start to follow you, start to show an interest in wanting to do business with you. Now, here are some things that you can do. All right, so, one thing that you want to do is add your podcast episodes to the experience section. That's the work experience section right below the summary. You can add multimedia in there, and over the next couple slides, I'm going to show you what it's going to look like when you drop those podcast episodes in there. You want to treat your podcast as a role, as a big part of your career, because that's what it is. So add those add those links of your podcast in the work experience area. All right, so let me show you what that's going to look like. So you see different types of multimedia in there. I have blog articles, I have podcast episode, I have interviews that I've done, all that kind of stuff. I'm building out that work experience area. So when you click on one of those thumbnails, you're clicking on it, it's going to expand. Now it's showing you a up close visual of, this is this episode, here's the description, this is this episode, here's the description, giving your audience a taste of what it's going to look and sound like if they click in it. So we click in it, it goes to a bigger screen. All right, and now we're able to, when you click this button, now the view button, it'll actually direct them to that podcast, whether it's a video, whether it's audio, whatever the case is. You're able to link those episodes in your profile. All right. Some of the other things that you could do, you might want to, in addition to putting these links in your work experience area, you can also drop them in the featured section to highlight specific episodes, your best episodes. Think of it as like your greatest hits album. Okay. Other things that you can do when it comes to optimizing your profile would be to update your headline. Make sure that you're telling people, hey, I'm a podcast host, and here's my show, and here's what it's about. All right. People want to see the proof. They want to see the social proof, and you can do that multiple times on your profile, all throughout, top to bottom. You can include information about your show. That's how we're going to optimize your profile. Okay. The third thing is, I'm going to encourage you to repurpose that content. All right. One of the biggest mistakes podcasters make is keeping their episodes locked inside the podcast platform that they use to publish and distribute it. Okay. So if you're using Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever the case is, and you're only leaving that podcast on that platform over there, then you're missing an opportunity to amplify that content and that information and reach more people. And you can do that through LinkedIn. So here are some things that you could do to get that bigger reach. All right. You might want to repurpose with short videos or video clips or audiograms from your episodes. Okay. You can use graphics like pull quotes or something like that, like, guest takeaways or top insights, things like that. You might want to do longer form content. So we're talking about articles or posts that are summarizing those episode insights and big takeaways from the show, right? All right. Repurposing your content is going to provide the opportunity for that information working for you to reach all kinds of different viewers and different learners. Remember, some people are visual learners, some people are audio learners, some people are kinesthetic, or maybe they're readers. Okay. So repurposing that content in different forms, different formats is going to make sure you're hitting the most people that you can with that piece of content. Moving along, another very powerful but still underutilized feature when it comes to LinkedIn is the LinkedIn newsletter. Now, when you publish a newsletter on LinkedIn, I'm talking about when you publish a newsletter on LinkedIn, every subscriber gets notified. It goes directly to their inbox, says, hey, Rich published the newsletter. Check it out right here. Okay. Now it's a big deal. Imagine sending an update every time you publish a new episode, or you're reaching out to your audience, letting them know that this guest is coming on the show, or this guest was just here and here were the takeaways. You're giving people more opportunity because people are busy. They might miss it. So you want to hit them with these different channels, right? So when you do that, here's some tips. Okay, choose a title of that newsletter that is going to align and connect with the podcast, so that people can draw that connection. You're helping them to connect the dots, that here's the podcast and here's the newsletter, and they're joined at the hip, or they're connected in some way, shape, or form. Okay. You'll, just like your podcast, you'll want to determine a cadence that's right for you. Maybe it's weekly, it's bi-weekly, it's monthly, and you're just telling about the highlights, or here's what you missed kind of thing. All right. You determine that. You can, in each episode or each newsletter edition, you might want to, like I said, recap the episodes, sharing those highlights, spotlighting the guests, giving some extra attention, a little extra spotlight to the guests. They took time out of their day to be on your show. So maybe you want to give them a little extra time in the limelight, right? The overall thought here is that you're turning your podcast into a multi-channel experience, once again, to increase opportunity for discoverability, right? We're increasing brand visibility. We're increasing podcast visibility, hitting people in different ways, different channels, in the ways that they learn and digest content. Okay, so the last tip that I have for you is remember, podcasting is all about relationships, and LinkedIn is where those relationships live. Okay, so don't just post your episode, hey, here's the episode, and you turn around and move away. No, you want to engage with your audience. You're going to tag your guests, thank them publicly, ask your audience questions related to the episode, or maybe what they want to see in the future, or maybe something, you gave 5 tips in this podcast. Hey, audience member, what would be another tip that you would like to contribute to the conversation? All of that is going to put more comments and more conversation in the comments area, to finesse the algorithm, giving it more reach, right? And again, this is going to strengthen those relationships, strengthening the relationships with your guests, and ultimately with your LinkedIn network. Okay, doing that, boom, now you're out here. You can't see me, but my hand is raised because you're increasing that visibility. Let me try and put my hand across the screen. Boom, you're increasing visibility. All right. Okay. So here we go. Let's wrap up and review what we learned. These 5 tips that we talked about today to boost your podcast with LinkedIn. First thing that you want to do is create that LinkedIn page specifically for your podcast, that podcast business page, we'll call it. All right. You're going to optimize. Now we're going back to your personal profile. You're going to optimize your personal profile, putting your podcast, mentioning it, including links to your shows and putting it in the featured area, things like that, right? Giving as much attention throughout your profile as possible. You're going to repurpose your podcast content using native LinkedIn posts, whether it's pull quotes or video clips, or maybe it's your top tips or your long form blog articles. So you're transforming an audio format, the podcast episode, into a blog article, right? We're repurposing it, giving it more attention from different viewers and different types of learners, audio, visual, kinesthetic. All right. Another thing, we talked about this being underutilized, is starting that LinkedIn newsletter. That's going to help boost visibility, reaching more people, reaching different people, folks that might have missed it. We're giving them a second opportunity to check it out again and engage with your people. These are the folks in your network, right? These are people that you wanted to connect with. So make sure you're working hard to build those relationships and build a community. And even if, we talked about 5 things in this webinar and in this training, so even if you only implement 2 or 3 of these things, just 2 of these things, just 3 of these things, you're going to make a big difference and make a bigger impact in growing your podcasts, growing your podcast visibility on LinkedIn. All right. But let's be honest, there's tons of different things that we can be doing. These are just 5. There's tons more. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And the real power comes when you put all these things together into a customized marketing strategy. And that's where I come in. Okay. That's what I do. That's where I help people, putting all these tactics, these components into one cohesive strategy. And that's how I'd like to help you more, or in addition to this quick little training. Okay. So if you're ready to take your podcast from just being a podcast, just being one piece of content, and you want to really turn it into that growth engine that we've been talking about for your business, then let's schedule a strategy call. It'll be a quick strategy call. I want to learn more about you, about your podcast, about your business. I want to learn more about your goals. What is it that you want to grow into? How do you want to use your podcast to grow your business? I want to hear about that information from you. And let's see if I'm able to help you turn that podcast into that growth engine. So what you're going to do is click the link on the page. You're going to see it. It's going to say book a free consultation. So click that link, put in your details. Let's get a call scheduled. I want to learn more about you and discuss ways that I can help you really maximize your podcast using LinkedIn. So click that link, schedule that free consultation, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, and be excellent.